Hello, and welcome. Welcome to a new episode of our podcast, Bring It Up. It's me, Chiara,
And me, Sarah. Welcome back, folks. How are you?
speaking today with our guest, Silvana, about horoscope and zodiac signs. Hello, Silvana. Would you like to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yes, sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Silvana. I'm 24 years old and from Portugal. I remember that my aunt used to have a Scorpio tattoo, and that was my first contact with astrology. But I'm no expert. I am just a volunteer in USB, United Society of Balkans. I do graphic design and some animation, or I try. And right now I'm living in Thessaloniki with these lovely girls, Chiara and Sara.
So I think the topic is astrology, so now we have to introduce our own zodiac signs. So I will start. I'm a beautiful Leo. What about you, Silvana?
That was so Leo indeed. I am what they call the mother of the signs, the Capricorn.
Since I was born in March, it seems like my sign is Pisces. Let's just describe briefly why we decided to speak about this topic. When I frequently enter in the kitchen, there's always something going around speaking about zodiac signs. Someone saying, yeah, but he's like this. Well, it's obvious. I mean, he's a Taurus. And this is why I think that zodiac signs, zodiac in general, is still a fascinating topic for young people nowadays. So we decided to investigate a bit more and to understand what there's actually behind the horoscope. So Silvana, what do you exactly know about horoscope?
So I already briefly explained my first contact with astrology, my aunt's tattoo. I do know actually a lot of people that tattoo their horoscopes for some reason, so I think they're really big on this. What do I know? Well, this started quite recently, like 1 year and a half ago. The algorithm of my YouTube decided to show me this really fun Brazilian YouTuber that is super queer and everything, and I just thought he was so charismatic. And he talks about zodiacs, and he was just making like kind of parodies, like bringing up a lot the traits of each zodiac. So, for example, the Leo would be super egocentric, and look at me.
What do you mean, Silvana?
Which may not be true. But I just thought it matched so much with the people that I knew, and this made me just like pay more attention to it and read more about it, and suddenly I'm the person that brings it up at lunchtime.
I consider it super fascinating. Just look at the drawings. The colors are so bright, and the representation of the zodiac signs are so beautiful and complex. But somehow I don't feel too much the influence of the zodiac of my own zodiac sign in my life. I mean, when people understand what's my sign, then they are always saying, oh yeah, I can recognize this feature of the sign in your life. But there are so many other things referred to my sign that do not match with my own personality, or there are some other things that usually are referred to other signs that I do not see in my friends. So I never actually ever believed, I might say, but this is something that so many people say, that I do not read the horoscope. And refer to this, as a matter of fact, there's an Italian way to say it, that is, non è vero ma ci credo. That is, I know that it's not true, but I still believe in it. And I think that this fits so much the thing about reading the last page of magazines or of the newspapers that report the daily zodiac sign related news.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not like Silvana and don't know a lot about horoscope, but I'm really fascinated also. And I really think that I can see in myself some like of the features and traits of my zodiac sign, and I also recognize some of them in the people I know. And it's amazing because it's not like 100% accurate. You don't like reflect your own sign 100%, but there is something. There is like a very specific trait of the of a sign, of a zodiac sign, that really like helps you define the other person and understand their behavior and their character, and it's super interesting to me.
I'm totally against generalizing and putting people all in the same bag. And like, if you think there is 12 zodiac signs, and you can't just think that there is 12 different profiles and types of people in the world. But then, like, the more you look and dive into the topic of astrology, you find out that, and probably Sarah, you know about this. It's the birth chart. A birth chart is like a main element of astrology, and it's pretty much like a picture of the position of the stars in the moment that you were born, in relation to your coordinates, so your position, and this is going to determine the position of each planet is going to be responsible for a part of your life. So let's imagine the moon is for moods and emotions, the Venus is for your love life, the Mars is for your aggression. And so it's not just I'm saying that she is a Leo or you're a Pisces and that's just it. There is so much more to it, and it really takes expertise to look into like the complexity of a birth chart.
I guess you introduced an important distinction between something super specific as the birth chart that's already can have some sort of personal features in it, and something more generic, like for the mass, which is the kind of news related to like the horoscope I was referring to before. And yeah, of course, I mean, the sun has such an influence on our life as human beings that I might also believe in this thing that you were saying, the moon, the planets, the sun itself. But the other thing that you were saying about there's only 12 zodiac signs, so like it would be some sort of categorizing people in a way too generic way. That is actually what makes me feel very diffident referred to the horoscope and the zodiac signs, especially because so many years I believed that psychology worked in this way. I mean, I always thought, okay, there's one problem that this person has and there's one fixed method to fix it. But you're not taking in consideration in this kind of reasoning the fact that everybody has a different way to face things. So in the moment when I understood this, I also thought I made some kind of analogy with how zodiac sign works.
Well, actually, for me, astrology is kind of an exception because I do consider myself a person that takes science in consideration. Like, I'm definitely not a religious person because I believe that religions go against what I know as by what science taught me. And definitely for me, like 2 years ago, I would never say I would be one of the astrology crazy people because but there's like something charismatic about it. Like even you're not a believer, you can't help to find something intriguing about it, and maybe it's influence, like if you notice, like most newspaper have a column dedicated just for it, and I think it's newspaper that are based in science, in data, in facts. But why do they still have this? Like, I think people are naturally very, how would I say, gravitating towards this astrology magical thing?
Yeah, I think it's because like the horoscope usually is like referred to the future. It's like for the week, the following week. So like and it says like how you should act in the work field, love or whatever, and it's somehow like reassuring to people because they don't know what they're going to do or what what will happen to them. So the horoscope is like a guide to the future, like the near future, very near future. But like we don't know what is going to happen. But if something happen, you should act like this. You should react like this. You should do this. You should do that. So it's like something reassuring for people to know that even if they don't know what is going to happen, they know how can react to the things that are going to happen, something like that.
What you said, Silvana, reminded me of something I noticed. Meanwhile, I was making some short research before we had this chat together. And I was trying to be very neutral. I mean, I just wrote zodiac and relation with human beings on the internet. And so there were many sites saying, why should you not believe in horoscope or in zodiac signs in general? And at least 80 or 70% of the times, I was suggested to read another article from the same site saying, how do Taurus men react when they are facing some depressing states at the workplace? I mean, you're just suggesting me to not believe in it, but you're suggesting also to read something related to zodiac signs. So yes, I guess our society, I don't know, appreciates or just is interested in it, no matter what. And I also agree with the thing related to the future. I mean, I guess that this is also the reason why horoscope was invented by Babylonians. They were like doing divinations, try to understand how things were, how natural elements were influencing their everyday life. This is super interesting to read it. And more or less, we are having the same troubles they had. I mean, it was also referred to how to understand or also to manage the thing that you in the end are not able to manage, but still you have to live it through.
So Silvana, now that you are here and we have the expert, can you like describe very briefly every zodiac sign for us? I'm very curious to know what you think, like what you know about every zodiac sign. And I'm really excited to see what you're going to say about Leos.
Wow. It feels like you really think I'm an expert. My words are not to trust, and I'm making a disclaimer to all listeners here. I do not take responsibility. But, well, I'm kind of contradicting myself because by creating the stereotype of 12 different zodiac signs, I am, well, not taking in consideration all the complexity that I talked before. But anyways, so the first sign, Capricorns. Oh, first I should say, before I start, that there is 4 elements. And this is air, water, earth, and fire. And you've probably seen it in Avatar. You remember the cartoon? Well, so the Capricorn is an earth sign, like the Taurus and Virgo. And these earth signs are very grounded. They rely a lot on stability. Usually, Capricorns are more like towards a professional thing. They tend to be like the entrepreneur kind of thing. Taurus are also, they're very related to their senses in a way that they like their comfort a lot. So they're probably the person that is going to smell the best, like food the most, like tasty food the most, and all that kind of stuff. And Virgos, they are very methodic, organized, and probably if you know a clean freak, it's going to be a Virgo, like my grandmother. Next, we have air. and it's Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini. So they're air, so they're a bit like moon, like their heads are, in the air. Aquarius is kind of the person that is like rebellious, and it tends to like challenge the status quo and do things in the opposite way of what society thinks it's correct or something like this. They're really into knowledge, like air signs for some reason. So this leads me to Gemini. There are people that are very you probably always find them reading a book or like, trying to get new sources of knowledge and all that kind of stuff. They talk a lot. They're very sociable. They like to know different perspectives. So they will talk with everyone to don't have like a biased opinion. And Libra, they're represented by the scale, the balance. So they want to they usually stand neutral in stuff. They don't like to take sides. And well, I kind of find a pattern that they're like very like with a reason kind of thing, but they're also very like flirty for some reason. They say this, and yeah, my mom is a Libra, so that makes me think. Fire, we have Sagittarius, Leo, and Aries. They're very impulsive and explosive kind of zodiacs. Let's start with Leo. Well, Leo is probably a person that is always gonna look their best when they are surrounded by people. They don't want anyone to see their weak spot. They would rather die. They are very, well, it's fire, so they are very like, their presence is noted. And usually they tend to be seen as like narcissistic because they like, the thing of the me. But I don't think this is like, I'm just giving you both sides. Then we have Sagittarius, that usually the adventurous, the craziest, like to travel. Aries is very impulsive and explosive. Usually you don't want to be on a fight with them because they will make their best to win. And finally, we have water. Let's start with Pisces. They're very also kind of in the clouds. They're very dreamy and like to fantasize about a poetic existence, kind of. It's funny because a Pisces friend of mine saw one of these videos of the YouTuber, and he was on the supermarket, and the Pisces would be the person that went on the supermarket is about to close, and they have to call him. The supermarket is about to close. You have to leave. And they're like, what? What's happening? Kind of bubbly. And then we have Cancer and Scorpio after this. That is, Cancer is very sentimental because water is relation to feelings and emotions. And it's very emotional, very related to the loved ones, like their family, to their roots. And Scorpio, it's usually, I save it for last because it's usually the one that has like vendetta plans and stuff like this. Usually they're intense. They either love or hate. There's like no in between. And I don't know. I really don't. Yeah, that's it. But I really don't. This is stereotypes, and we have to use them. They're there for some reason, but not 100% reliable.
So now that we know like all the description of all the zodiac signs, Silvana, you live with us, right? Do you think that do you see some of the traits that you described in the zodiac signs in like the people themselves? Like you could tell that I was a Leo or that Chiara was a Pisces in some way. We're not like we live together, so you see us around the house all the time. So do you like get our zodiac signs and why you get them?
I guess I still need a lot of training for these purposes, but in this summer I started a really fun game with my friends. We had nothing better to do, so we would just drink some wine and talk about the zodiac, and it would always end up with me trying to guess unknown people zodiacs. I happen to like guess it sometimes, but I don't think like I'm the median of the zodiac or something like this. I do feel some traits, but I don't guess it most of the times. But once you tell me, I'm like, oh, this and this and this. And maybe, it's a bit biased because I already know, and people are like, oh, you already know. But yeah, I think once you tell me, and once I add you on the CoStar, which is an astrology app for the ones that don't know, I think people read it and feel like it makes sense, but not most of the times I wouldn't be able to guess. But now that I know, it makes sense.
Yeah, for example, the other night I was talking to Chiara and I was like, but Chiara, when's your birthday? And she was like, oh, you don't know? I was like, no. Oh, try to guess it. I was like, oh, I'm going to guess also your zodiac sign. Let's see where. And I think I totally I didn't get it at all. But when she told me that she was born in March and she was Pisces, I was like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense because you some not in everything, but you reminds me of my dad, which is Pisces also. And like find these traits, and I was like, yeah, you're totally Pisces. Now I can see you as a Pisces. Yeah, super fun.
The thing I like the most when there are these kind of description, of course, like we take it not for granted and everything. We know that they are like sometimes generalizations, but yet in many cases they just tend to describe the best of the people, and I like this thing. And also the negative things referred to the sign that can like appear in the description, they are things that you can still fix. So it's just like, you have this thing, you can work on it. But I will not lie to you that for me it's hard to believe in those kind of description, or in general in the zodiac, because when you listen to the description of a sign, there are so many things that you can refer to, and there are so many that you cannot refer to. And to me, it sounds like you're just focusing on the things that for you make sense, and you just kind of like ignore the others because they do not refer to you. Or, okay, we said that the mass generated horoscope at the end of the magazines is way too generic, but there are so many people who believe in it because they just think about it when things happen, and so they, once again, is self-fulfilling because you ignore the things that you don't care or you don't mind, and you just take in consideration and you just give an interpretation on those things that for you are relevant. Which once again makes me remember the studies I did at high school referred to divination in ancient Greece. And once again, it's like we're human beings, we like this thing and we cannot get rid of it. I mean, we can go so farther with technology, innovation, and whatever you want, but still we want to know, we want to be sure, we want to know more than we will ever get to know. And this is so fascinating about human minds.
Yeah, that's true. But for example, there are these like kind of apps that are more accurate with the horoscope. But I think that people can relate to the general horoscope we can find at the end of a magazine, because there are like so general type of advices that somehow at some point during the week you realize, oh yeah, that's true because my horoscope said that. It's not like something that I relate to these things that the horoscope said, so I take just them into consideration and forget the others. It's like everything is so general that in some way you can relate to it. It doesn't say to you exactly what is going to happen and how you can react to that thing.
Well, I don't like to be biased. So I did some research before coming here, and there is also a thing that this is totally not, this is not 100% based on science and on facts, but I mean, you girls probably heard about the placebo effect. That is, when you believe so strongly about something, that thing ends up becoming a universal truth in your mind. So if I believe a lot in horoscope, and if I read these things and I keep saying, oh, I'm a Capricorn, I'm gonna have initiatives, eventually this is going to start to make me believe that I am like this, and I start to change my behavior towards this. And I even believe that psychologically this makes sense. But I feel like, in a way, it's not only a scientific thing, because it's like the mysticism of the thing. It's for some reason, like, the astrology is related to like a kind of esoteric lifestyle, people that use the Palo Santo and the incense and the tarot cards and everything. But maybe this just proves that humans cannot be separated from their mystic nature. There is something that, okay, we love science, we love to say what's right and wrong with scientific data, but at the end, we are like, it's inevitable to take, as you said, Chiara, and very well, we cannot get rid of this, as scientific as we get as a society.
Yes, I understand. And I also agree with the fact that, okay, maybe you believe in a horoscope and this helps you through the day or the week, or through your week, through your year, more generically speaking. And if this is good for you and makes you in a good mood, or gives you some kind of and it gives you more strength to the way you face your week, so why not? You should not believe in it? And I'm saying this because I believe that, reading the title of this episode, many people might have thought, okay, no, like, this is not for me, I do not believe in it, I'm not going to even listen anything related to this. And instead, in the end, we spoke about so many things related to your everyday life, to the way you as a human being face your everyday life. So in the end, it's not something to laugh about or to just say, okay, like, you're so mystic, to use the word you chose before. Is like one of the 1,000 ways you can choose just to deal with the life you have. So Silvana, what do you think that is the legacy we get from our ancestors, refer to the stars, the zodiac, and what do you think that is the thing that still is with us from their ancient knowledge?
So a very interesting point that I came across was that before science, men used to look at the stars to guide themselves, to predict all kinds of weathers and when they should do certain kinds of things. They notice patterns in the stars, and that's the reason why I think that's like the origins of the astrology. And it's a lot in our history, like, and even in our languages, the kinds of expressions that like leads us to the stars. So in English we have, for instance, it's in our stars, or the fault is in our stars, that leads us to look for guidance in the stars, and like it's if it's penetrated in our culture, so like our language and our costumes, I think it's really hard to fade away. And deep down, it's just a matter of, like, we like to believe that there's something more. Like, the biggest question that there is in terms of existence is the Big Bang, and how did this all started, and we created all kinds of theories. And the universe is still the biggest mystery for ourselves. So, like, when we look at the stars, we see we realize how small we are, and we also get to, I don't know, we're trying to know our roots better, or where we came from, or all these big philosophical questions that always have been around and we have no way to answer. And I don't know, I just think it's inevitable that you look for guidance in this kind of things, and that's science doesn't have a question for them yet.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Silvana. It probably is that's the reason why. And as you were saying the other day, we are like we are just human beings. And like compared to the universe that we have around us, we are like so tiny and so almost insignificant. So we look at the stars in order to find a guide, and in order to find a reason why the things that happen to us happens to us. So yeah, I totally agree with that. It's a very fascinating way to see the horoscope.
Okay, I like this very much. I like this kind of link that we can see between us and the universe. And of course, since there's no answer and I had my personal answer in this, I think I'm starting seeing your point on the topic. Yet, for what concerns the relationship among people, I would still suggest to go speak with your interlocutor and know him or her for what he or she is, without thinking, oh, that's his sign, then like he might like this more than that, or he reacted like this because he is, and insert whatever sign he or she is, and just think that, oh, is this person with his own features, I have to accept him or her because of the way she is, and get along with it.
Yeah, definitely, Chiara. I totally agree with you. I think astrology and even some stuff on Netflix that I have been seeing, like a lot of people make a lot of money and profit from deluding people with. So I heard about this guy that he was a yoga guru, spiritual guru, and he was just leading people to scams and to get their money at the end. And I think even the idea that I had before about astrology from reading in the newspaper was that this was just deceiving people, and it talks with a lot of certainty about things that have not happened yet. So they're kind of like predicting. So opposite to this, the kind of, for example, a content that I'm more interested in, and this always depends on where you get your sources from, and I guess we're not all in the same bag, is, for example, in CoStar, you have the possibilities open. So it says you have an orientation for this to, like, you're more vulnerable about this week. So have this in mind. Be conscious about this and try to act. So if I know that I'm going to be more sensitive and more, and that something can spark more easily a conflict, I am more aware of that. I prepare myself according to that. It's not predicting my future, it's just informing me more about my strengths and my weaknesses and how I can play according to them to get what I want in life. And that's more what I'm interested in. But like everything, we have news, we have fake news, we have good content, bad content. We are just overloaded in a sea of information. Which one to rely on?
Thank you very much, Silvana, for your insight, your point of view, and all the information you shared with us today. Sarah, do you have one last thing to say, to add?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this chat too, because even if like we have three very different point of view on this thing. I think at some point we kind of met each other in the middle, and like, yeah, maybe for you, Chiara, you don't really believe in it, but you kind of got the point during this chat of what the horoscope is and astrology and all this kind of stuff. And also, for example, Silvana, like, kind of get also the doubts that people may have about astrology, but as you were saying, it's like a very complex kind of science, let's say. It's not science in the like more traditional way, but like it's like a very complex topic, and we have like to read and study more about it if we want like to use it in our daily life in a better and more conscious way. So girls, I think for tonight we had a wonderful chat, and we can say goodbye to everybody, and yeah, we're going to see you next week with another episode of our podcast. And thank you, Silvana, again for participating in this episode. It was a pleasure to have you with us. And yeah, that's it. You want to say something else, Silvana?
Yeah, thank you very much, girls, for having me. It was a pleasure to have this chat with you. And if you read your horoscopes, don't get it from your newspaper. Just watch where you get your horoscopes from, please.
Yeah, great advice. That's for sure. Okay, folks, I think we're done for today. So, bye!